Okay, some of my memories of Ocean City go back to the early 1960s when I'd come here with my parents, and we'd spend a week or so. We'd often, on the weekends, come down to the boardwalk. Later on, when I became a parent, I would do the same with my kids, rent a place for a week, bring them down on the weekends to the boardwalk to have fun, and that I'm sure will continue when my grandkids reach the proper age.
John said, well, why don't we get married in Ocean City? I'm like, no way. My family's not going to go down. It's not going to happen. It's never going to work. And it did. We made it work. So we got married at the Port of Call in February of '96. And we had all of our guests came down in a snowstorm.
During the reception, it was just beautiful looking out the windows at the Port of Call, just watching the snow coming down.
You could see it under the street, under the lights on the boardwalk, so that was cool. And then we continued to come back for our anniversary and stay at the Port of Call, the Port House, for a few years.
And then we just got to the point that, we said, if we're going to keep coming down here all this many times, we should probably just buy a house. So we did eventually do that.
And we recommend it to everybody that we know, but we tell them to come down in the summer so they don't crowd it up too much when we're here.
Oh, one of my favorites, we call it the music ride. It plays, I forget what it's called. You play music and then it just rolls and rolls and rolls around. And the Ferris wheel and the swing ride. I just love all the rides.
My favorite ride is the double shot.
I remember once, I was like 5 or 6 years old, we were walking the boardwalk and I actually saw the Easter Bunny for what I think is my first time. It was just amazing. I saw it in front of one of the, I think, fudge stores.
So one of my greatest memories is that I met a bunch of new friends here, and I met Kendall. and it's a very great family home because you can go to the beach and you can walk the boardwalk. So it's really fun to be in Ocean City.
Yeah, girl.
Thank you.
At the mouth of Great Egg Harbor lies a 7-mile-long barrier island. It had long been a summer home to local Indians who journeyed there from the mainland to hunt and fish. In the early 1700s, whaler John Peck began using the island to conduct his whaling operations. And by the end of the century, this narrow stretch of sand dunes and cedar swamps was being called Peck's Beach. Local farmers used the island as a grazing land for their cattle. During the Revolutionary War, they would hide their livestock among the high sand dunes, protecting them from British rustlers. Early settlers on the mainland would occasionally come out by boat and picnic by the ocean. Originally owned by the Summers family, the island had but one full-time resident. His job was to watch for shipwrecks. In 1879, 4 Methodist ministers traveled to Peck's Beach in search of an area in which they could establish a Christian Seaside Resort. On September 10th, 1879, Reverend William H. Burrell, along with brothers Ezra B. Lake, James Lake, and S. Wesley Lake, gathered under a tall cedar tree and formed the Ocean City Association. Simon Lake and William B. Wood later joined the four ministers, and together they went about renaming the island. Peck's Beach became Ocean City. They mapped out streets and began selling lots to the public. Cottages, hotels, stores, and businesses were soon being built. In 1881, the Ocean City Tabernacle was constructed between Wesley and Asbury Avenues, and camp meetings were being held there the following summer. By 1882, Ocean City had a population of just over 100 residents. A rail line to Somers Point was completed in 1880. From there, a steamboat carried passengers across Great Egg Harbor to the 2nd Street Wharf. Visitors were now finding their way to Ocean City's beaches as popularity was on the rise. The first road from the mainland ran from Cape May City to Beasley's Point, and a bridge to the island was built in 1883. By 1884, the West Jersey Railroad was bringing visitors directly to Ocean City. The first boardwalk was built in 1880, beginning at the 2nd Street Wharf. By 1886, it had extended the entire length of the beach. That same year, the Excursion House opened on the beach at 11th Street, featuring bathing facilities and amusements. In 1885, Ocean City hosted the National Temperance Convention. The goal of the Victorian temperance movement was to preserve the traditional values of home and community. With the damaging effect alcohol abuse had on families, booze was looked upon as being evil by members of the movement. In keeping with the city's religious principles, the Ocean City Association began promoting the island as a moral seaside resort, voting to pass a number of laws that prohibited swimming, bicycle riding, or driving on Sundays, and limiting the hours for bathing or use of the beach in a so-called nude state. The sale or public consumption of alcoholic beverages in Ocean City was strictly prohibited. Reverend Burrell had the Victorian-style New Brighton Inn built in 1882. It was later called the Marrying House, getting its name from the hundreds of weddings he performed there. It was soon followed by the Breakers, the Strand, the Mayberry, and later the historic Flanders Hotel. On March 25th, 1897, the seaside community was officially incorporated as Ocean City. By the turn of the century, its population had grown to over 1,300 residents. On December 15th, 1901, a magnificent four-masted ship named the Sindia was sailing from Japan to New York City in the midst of a cold, driving rainstorm. Carrying over $1 million in fine goods like silks and porcelain, the ship ran aground off of Ocean City's coast and got herself wedged in the sand. Its hull broke open and water began rushing in. At 2:35 a.m., the Sindia sent up distress signals. Surf boats were dispatched, and the crew was rescued from their sinking ship. In a twist of irony, the captain was ruled responsible for the wreck, and speculation has long been that he and his crew had been drunk. In 1904, Captain John L. Young purchased the two most popular amusement piers in Ocean City, renaming one after himself. He spent nearly $8,000 in creating Young's Pier, which included a hippodrome theater, amusements, and arcades. The 120-foot-long Music Pavilion Pier featured daily concerts from some of the day's most celebrated brass bands. In 1906, record crowds were arriving at Ocean City. It was estimated that as many as 20,000 people were visiting the resort on a single day. At times, the boardwalk became so crowded that visitors found it nearly impossible to pass. A new trolley line crossing Great Egg Harbor Bay was constructed in 1907, connecting Ocean City to Atlantic City. This new trolley gave visitors access to the entire island. With more people arriving by automobile, the 34th Street Bridge was expanded in 1909. By 1914, 4 bridges connected Ocean City to the mainland. With the passing of the 18th Amendment in 1919, the rest of the country now joined Ocean City in prohibiting the sale and possession of alcoholic beverages. When Prohibition ended in 1933, it had little to no bearing on Ocean City, however. The city remained true to its roots and continued its ban on alcohol. Popular boardwalk theaters like Moorlands, the Strand, and Founces all played a major part in Ocean City's entertainment scene. Moorlands originally opened as a bowling casino in 1901 before a theater was established in 1922, featuring vaudeville acts and silent movies. In 1927, fire destroyed much of the boardwalk, and many businesses were lost, including the Plaza Theater, Hippodrome Pier, and Shriver's Saltwater Taffy. The boardwalk was rebuilt along with many of the businesses. This time, it was moved 300 feet closer to the ocean and set on concrete pilings. The new Ocean City Music Pier opened in 1928. Built in the design style of Mediterranean Revival architecture, it became an instant success and crowd favorite. The Music Pier remains a boardwalk landmark to this day. In the 1930s, Jillian's Fun Deck opened at Plymouth Place and the boardwalk, featuring two main attractions, a Ferris wheel and a merry-go-round. The Great Atlantic Hurricane of 1944 swept across the entire Jersey shore, leaving behind a tremendous amount of damage in its wake. In Ocean City, homes and businesses were completely destroyed. Eyewitnesses reported winds of up to 140 miles per hour, churning up giant ocean waves, some 25 to 30 feet high, picking up parts of Ocean City's boardwalk and tossing it around like toothpicks. The 1950s saw a huge rise in visitors to the resort, and by the 1960s, record crowds were packing on to Ocean City's beaches and boardwalk. In the summer of 1964, an estimated 150,000 people spent their 4th of July weekend vacationing there. Ocean City was becoming one of the most popular resorts on the Jersey Shore. Wonderland Amusement Park opened in 1965 on the boardwalk at 6th Street. The name was later changed to Jillian's Wonderland Pier, featuring dozens of amusement rides, a water park, the runaway train roller coaster, and a giant Ferris wheel, one of the largest on the East Coast. Playland Amusement Park opened in 1959 on the boardwalk at 10th and 11th Streets. By 1996, it had tripled in size, changing its name to Playland's Castaway Cove. The park has become famous for its double-shot tower ride, the high seas log flume, go-kart track, and the looping Python roller coaster. In 1985, Ocean City repealed its Blue Law ordinance. Bathing, shopping, and other forms of recreation were now permitted on Sundays. The Ocean City Music Pier was renovated and restored in the 1990s. Locals and visitors flock there every summer to see the Ocean City Pops Orchestra, concert performances, shows, and musicals. After the sinking of the Sindia in 1901, part of the ship's mast remained visible from shore until the 1990s, when it sank completely beneath the ocean. Ocean City has stayed true to its Victorian roots, founded on the principles of decency and morality. The old cedar tree, where 4 Methodist ministers gathered together to pray, still stands on the grounds of the Tabernacle. The city still prohibits the sale of alcoholic beverages, making it exceptionally popular among families, boasting beautiful white sand beaches and a 2.5-mile boardwalk that has become one of the most popular and well-known in the world. That narrow 8-mile stretch of dunes and swamps has now become a welcoming change of pace and a premier summer destination for visitors to the Jersey Shore.